Good evening and welcome to the Brockton School Committee regular school committee meeting. Today is Tuesday, October 1st, 7 p.m. located at the Romm Little Theater here at the high school. The agenda will be discussed this evening. Please note that hearing of visitors is included. If you have any statements or questions, please give it to the secretary, which was indicated there are no hearing of visitors. In addition to attending this meeting, the public can view the meeting via television Comcast Channel 8 and 107.1 HD version, and online via this link, www.youtube.com/TheBrocktonChannels. We will establish a quorum. Mrs. Sullivan.
Yeah.
Mr. Gomes.
Here.
Mr. Vega.
Here.
Ms. Oliver.
Yeah.
We do have our student rep, Mr. Sullivan.
Yep.
And we have the superintendent as the clerk. Myself, Vice Chair Rodriguez is present. We do have Mrs. Azak and the mayor as the chairman not with us this evening, just feeling under the weather, and we wish them a speedy recovery. As we establish our quorum, if we can all stand and salute our wonderful flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. As I stated, we have nobody for hearing of visitors, but I will read it into record that pursuant to the school committee policy, each person requesting to speak shall be allotted a maximum of 3 minutes. Since this period is limited to 15 minutes, a total of 5 people shall be permitted to speak on a first-come, first basis, and we don't have any hearing of visitors. Item number 3 is the report of the superintendent of the schools. The floor is all yours, Doctor.
Thank you so much. So under item A, teaching and learning, the first item is our student representative report. We're excited to welcome our student representative here with us tonight, Stephanie James.
Good evening, Mayor Sullivan, Dr. Tahiliani, Superintendent of Schools, and Vice Chair Mr. Tony Rodriguez, and the rest of the distinguished school committee members. Welcome to the 2024-2025 school year. It has been off to a great start, and I have been receiving much positive feedback from my peers as the school year goes on. I have no doubt that the school committee will continue to lead Brockton High towards success. Thank you. The phone policy. As we enter the new and improved school year here at Brockton High, there is a new policy set in place where students are required to place their phones into yonder pouches for the entirety of the school day. This helps to ensure that all students get a quality education that they deserve. Attendance. To motivate students in the upcoming school year, the school has implemented an auto failure policy where students are allotted 4 unexcused absences per term to keep the students up to date and on track with their educational responsibilities. New rules. To ensure a safe environment for students and staff, students in all grades were required to take new ID photos. Students in the 9th grade had a 4-day orientation to get them familiar with the school rules. Students are expected to arrive to school with IDs on, hats and hoods off, and ready to learn. Teacher absent without a sub. Brockton High has created an improved policy for students where they are directing kids that have a teacher absent without a sub to the red IRC, where staff will meet them to take attendance and complete their assignments. This past school month, the freshman and sophomore students have taken the STAR. The STAR exam. I'm positive that all the students put in hard work and effort and that they will bring excellent results back to the school. Fall sports. September 27th was the Brockton High first home football game of the year. The boys and girls soccer team are off to a great start with many spectacular games to come. The girls volleyball team won against Durfee in 3 sets. Brockton High sports are unmatched. Student feedback. As there has been many significant changes to the school year, it has been quite an adjustment for my peers and I. However, there has been a great improvement in social engagement and the students' time management throughout the school day. With determination and effort, the students will continue to improve and make great strides towards improvement all year. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Before I go on to my update, I didn't know if anybody had any questions for the student representative. I'm happy to open it up.
Just,
Mr. Gomes, followed by Mrs. Sullivan.
well, first of all, welcome, and thank you for the presentation. Everything sounds amazing. I just wanted to hear your take on the new policies that were implemented, like the yonder bag. What's your take on it? How has it been, and how has it felt for you? The no hoodies, no hats, no ID picture. Tell me more about that.
So it has been like quite an adjustment for me personally. Since the past couple years here at Brockton High, I'm not really like used to having to lock my phone up all day. But it has like, although if I'm being honest, I wouldn't say it's like, I'm so excited to lock my phone up every day. But if I'm being honest, it has like made me focus more in class, and it has like made me like more attentive and like get my work done, better time management, because like there's always that temptation to go on your phone, not even to like be disrespectful or not like pay attention, but like let me see if my friend texted me, or so that distraction has been eliminated, and that has been great. For the hats and hoods, me personally, I haven't really been affected by it because I don't really wear hoods to school like that. But yeah, I feel like it's been pretty good. Students have been listening. There are some kids who don't listen, and but yeah, I feel like our staff has been good with enforcing it, and the IDs are nice too. I didn't like my ID photo, so I'm glad I got to retake it. I'm being honest, I didn't like it, so I liked it. I really liked that one. But yeah. There hasn't been much complaints about the IDs, so that's been really good. And, it gives people a chance to, feel more confident in their new IDs and stuff. Because, I have a lot of friends who don't like their ID photos either. So, yeah, it's nice. It's a good improvement.
Thank you. It's nice to hear that from you, because we get all these reports saying it's amazing, it's been great. But to hear it from the students that are going through it every day, so thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Gomes. Mrs. Sullivan.
I just wanted to say thank you to everybody that's been involved in this positive change. Superintendent Tahiliani, Principal Magasco, the deans and the teachers, thank you. And we're moving forward positively. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Sullivan?
Yes, one question, Stephanie. The new IDs, do you swipe that on the bus as well, or you don't have to?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Do you swipe the new ID onto the bus to get on the bus, the school bus?
I'm actually not too familiar with like the bus situation because I don't take the bus. But with the new IDs, they are really strict in school. I do know that. Every morning you have to have your ID. If you don't have your ID, they put you in-house, and like, it costs money to get a temp. So like they're really like, trying to enforce a safe environment where students are like being held responsible for bringing their IDs every day, and it's been like pretty strict, but it's been good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any follow-up questions? Well, welcome to the school committee, and we look forward to getting your reports from the high school and how things are moving in a very positive way. Just for information for the members, I did request the superintendent to reach out to the Promise Career Academy, and if we can expand that also with the champion and get those reports, because they are high school students as well, so we can add 2 more students that can give a report with those schools as well. Thank you, Superintendent.
All right, thank you so much. So I know that's a pretty tough act to follow, but I'm going to do my best with my update today. All right, so good evening again to everyone. I'm excited to share just a few highlights with you tonight. So last Friday, we did have the opportunity to celebrate Brockton High School's Automotive Technology Program, which was awarded a grant for more than $650,000 by the Healy Driscoll administration and the Massachusetts Clean Energy Center. The grant for BHS was actually part of a much larger grant program, but our state partners actually chose Brockton High as the venue to announce this incredible round of funding. So we were very excited to be able to host that event. The $653,347 grant will allow BHS to renovate its automotive classroom space and acquire new equipment that will allow our students to explore opportunities to work on electric vehicles. This grant is in partnership with Project Green Schools and is again part of a broader effort to increase students' awareness in clean energy jobs. This was an extraordinary opportunity for our students at Brockton High, and I want to thank Cam Jackson, Elvio Ferreira, Principal McCaskill, and the whole team for making this happen for our students. I'm also pleased to share that Brockton High School has been named a Unified Champion School by Special Olympics of Massachusetts. This is a recognition of the hard work to restore programs that were lost during COVID and reflects the strong effort to revitalize BHS's Boxer Buddies, Unified Track and Field, and the Parade of Champions at BHS. BPS has also worked with Special Olympics of Massachusetts to create programs for students in grades K to 8, and we hope to become a unified champion district soon. So thank you to Diane Davis and everyone at BHS who has worked to make this achievement possible. Also, a special thank you is in order to the Brockton Public Library for its generous gift of a copy of The World Collector for every kindergarten student in Brockton. A thank you also for Marcia Andrade Serpa at the Parent Information Center, whose passion for helping students discover the joy of reading is alive and well and on display in her work, collaborating with the library to make gifts like this possible. The Word Collector is a story about the profound power of words and about a boy named Jerome who collects words the same way others collect stamps, coins, or art. The books will be arriving at our schools soon, and students will be encouraged to create thank you notes, cards, and posters to show their gratitude for the library's partnership. Brockton High School hosted a voter registration drive today in the Red Cafeteria. Students in junior and senior history classes, as well as some English classes, came to the cafeteria during their class periods and chatted with representatives from the Brockton area NAACP, the city clerk's office, and other organizations. Many filled out their voter registration forms on the spot. Students who registered and who will be 18 by November 5th will be able to vote in next month's election. 16 and 17-year-old students who filled out registration forms were able to pre-register so that their voting registration will automatically become active on their 18th birthday. Thank you to Associate Principal Rachel Ambriana and community member Carolyn Nee, who collaborated to make today's drive happen. And by the way, the deadline to register to vote in the November election is October 26th. Also, finally, a special welcome to introduce my Harvard Superintendent Fellow for the upcoming school year, Dion Owens. He's here with us tonight in the audience. He is part of a 3-year doctoral program out of the Harvard Graduate School of Education. And during the first year of the program, students learn to become systems-level leaders by being partnered with a superintendent and partnering with a district in Massachusetts. And Dion has had the great fortune of being partnered here with us in Brockton. He is originally from the south side of Chicago and is one of 11 children. After feeling pushed to be his best by his teachers, Dion became a teacher himself, then an assistant principal, and later a principal of a turnaround school. Dion successfully turned around 2 schools, one in Chicago and one in Houston, through the use of data, strategic planning, climate and culture alignment, and leadership development. He led his schools to improvements in academic performance, student discipline outcomes, and overall school ratings. So we welcome Dion to the Brockton Public School community. We are very excited to have him, and we know we are going to learn as much from him as he learns from us. Finally, families should have received a notification about a universal screener that we will be rolling out from October 7th to 11th. And at this time, I would like to invite up John Snellgrove, our Director of Social Emotional Learning, who's going to provide just a bit more information about this screener and how it is going to help us as educators to better support our students' individual needs. And you can point there.
Thank you, Dr. Tahiliani. And thank you, and I really am honored to be here and to speak to all of you tonight. I must say, our student representative, Stephanie, that was amazing. Mom, you should be so proud. What a wonderful young lady and what a representative here. So welcome, Stephanie, and fantastic job. So my name is John Snellgrove. As Dr. Tahiliani said, I am Director of Social Emotional Learning. I've been in the district 27 years. And this universal screening, I'm going to give you a little bit more about it tonight and then open the floor for any questions. So basically, what is the screener? I'll answer this for you tonight, or these questions for you tonight. Why did we choose it? Who will participate? When will it be available? And how will the data be used? And I must say, since last Thursday, September 26th, I have fielded many phone calls, emails. I've met with people in person. I've been at open houses. I just came from the Brookfield and meeting with parents and just explaining a little bit more about what we're doing and why we chose the SSIS, SEL plus MH brief screener for our children. The screener is pretty straightforward. It is only 35 questions. 20 of them relate to SEL items, which is your CASEL competencies, and there are 5 areas. That's when students will answer the questions, and those categories look to really identify maybe some strengths in some areas that need strengthening, that are specific to self-management, social awareness, self-awareness, relationship skills, and responsible decision-making. Those core competencies, which we all need to help us become great, healthy, productive members of our society. And the 15 emotional behavioral stress concerns, the EBC items, those look at both internal and external behaviors. And the reason why we chose the SSIS, SEL plus MH, there were many screeners to choose from. We really wanted to get the student voice of those students that may have internalized conflicts, or they're wrestling or struggling with some things internalized that they wouldn't otherwise bring up to a trusted adult, whether being at home or in school, to a school counselor, a teacher, a coach, etc. So this gives us the opportunity through this medium to capture their voice. And then once that's identified, how can we better help these children? So then lastly, it's student self-report. It's very independent. It also can be read aloud. The questions are in English. They're also in Spanish. So you can hit a button, you can toggle on the button. The teacher or the student can toggle and hear the survey in English and or Spanish, or Spanish. And then we'll talk about also who else can help support our English learners. So this is also why we chose this tool, this screener. It's fair, it makes sense, it's culturally relevant across a diverse group of students, teachers, and parents. It's actionable, right? We look at the CASEL SEL domains, and then we find out what our children need. In which of those areas are they strong in which areas are they a little bit weaker in, and we need to further develop. And they're correlated with skills and behaviors identified as important to social emotional health. And then again, from there, collecting this data, we look at scores, and then we find out and we determine which students, based on how they responded to the survey, correlate to the tiers, tier 2 or tier 3. And then we support children individually as well as group interventions. So if a student indicates concerns in some areas, the school adjustment council will work with the parents and call and say, your child scored this way. It seems to lean towards some internal, maybe internalized behaviors. Do you see your child as an anxious type student or child? Do you see your child, is he or she more isolated recently? Do they spend more time in their bedroom? Are they more talkative than they would be normally? What is their baseline, and have you seen a difference? So this information will allow us to work more closely with parents, and then also how do we as a school district help our kids both individually and as in groups. Again, this will be for all students in grades 3 through 12. It's very, very simple. Students will be asked to log in to their Clever page, click on the icon, take the survey, complete the survey, just 35 questions, submit it, and that's it. It takes between 8 and 10 minutes, as the previous slide said, and it's pretty straightforward. Now, when can we do the survey? So we looked at the calendar and worked alongside our folks in teaching and learning and determined that the week of October 7th to the 11th, which starts next Monday, would be the open period for the screener. It will go live from our research company, and building principals will have the autonomy to determine when it works best in their building. I've talked to some elementary principals that said, I might do it Tuesday morning after announcements. There's a 20-minute little window there. I might say all students in grades 3, 4, and 5, teachers, please direct them to take the screener, right? It's done whole class. Some other folks, the middle school level, said I might have a social studies teacher do it. We too may do it after morning announcements, but the building principals and their leadership team will have the ability to choose what makes sense for their building. And then again, how are we going to use this data, right? And that's really the conversation I've had with many parents throughout the district. So what are you going to do with the data? We're not trying to get into people's business, and I just had a wonderful conversation with a young man over at the Brookfield, and I said, we don't want to know about your business. We want to know how your kids are doing. We don't, in my opinion, ask our students for their voice enough, and this will help do that. The IST team, so there's an individualized support team in every building. If a child indicates in a certain way that there's some concerns, then the IST team, which is comprised of building leaders, the school nurse, the school adjustment counselors, will sit and meet and talk about a plan of action. But I must stress that will be inclusive of parent direction and collaboration. We are not, I'm a parent as well. I would not want anyone administering any type of survey screener, so I've heard the community without their consent, and there's an opportunity to opt out. But we will be very sensitive with that information and work closely with parents so that we can better respond and hear. We value and see our children, and I think this is an opportunity to better hear our children. And then district and building administrators, we too will have access to it. So I can look at the Angelo School and how all third graders scored, or how all fifth graders scored, and look at the middle school and the high school, and then say, okay, what do our kids tell us we need? What do we need for our kids? Do we need more peer mediation? Do we need more conflict resolution? Do we need more social gathering so people feel more connected, building communities of connection and support, communities of belonging? So all of this information will just better help us meet the needs of our students, but we need to hear from them. We truly need to hear from them. And this is a quick kind of snapshot that we can use the data, work with parents, work with our internal BPS staff and our community stakeholders to say, let us help your children. Any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Snellgrove. I will open the floor up to any questions. Mr. Gomes, followed by Mrs. Oliver.
Thank you for your presentation.
More than welcome.
Just a few questions. Could you help me understand the implementation a little bit further?
Sure. So we work with Resonant Education. They're our partners, and they will make the screener live between that date, October 7th to the 11th. So it'll open Monday morning. It'll close Friday at the end of the business day. And then building principals will give us a schedule as to when they're going to offer it in their buildings or in their schools. And then from there, we're going to work with our community liaisons, our school adjustment counselors, other folks with linguistic capabilities to be in classrooms to present that information to students that need it. And then from there, in probably late October, early November, we'll get all of the results and then make our plan livable. We're going to make it alive.
Okay. So for kids in like lower level grades, like 3, 4, 5, how's their implementation going to be? Because let's say, for instance, they don't really get the question, or they're like, what am I supposed to say? So what's the process in that case?
And it's going to be very, very open, right? So they can ask questions of their teachers. The teachers can explain it. The principals will be hearing a lot of information tomorrow in the principals meeting with our superintendent, and then given specific directions as to how they can address these concerns or any questions that may come up while they're live, encouraging the students to participate. But I think we're not trying to be coy, or we're not trying to trick children into anything. If there are questions, if they need time to review it, it doesn't have to be just 8 to 10 minutes. It can go longer. It's just, we want to hear from them. It is that simple. We just want to hear from them. And this has been proven and research-based and peer-reviewed and as a great tool to do that.
Okay. And I'm thinking from a medical perspective.
Sure.
So if they were to ask for help, especially young kids, and the way that I'm thinking about is like, for instance, the way that you interpret the question, or like help them understand it, that could change how they answer the question. So is that important to the data that you guys are going to receive?
It is important. Obviously, the accuracy is and the validity is absolutely important. It's less of a research, an evaluation. It's more of a screener. Tell us how you feel. And again, if that teacher needs to break down every question, I put a copy in everyone's folder. I hope you have it. It's 35 really benign questions. The first one: I ask for help when I need it. I stay calm when dealing with problems. So they're pretty straightforward. And again, the teachers will have ample time to prep their students and kind of be there to guide them and answer any and all questions.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for the
Thank you,
questions.
Mr. Gomez. Before Mrs. Oliver, I just want to let the public know that the PowerPoint, BCA did have some difficulties airing it live, but it will be on the school website after this meeting is concluded. So, Mrs. Oliver?
I have 2 questions. Thank you. It's
welcome.
a great presentation. I know you said it's going to be in English and Spanish. How are we going to help the students that speak Creole, Portuguese, and Haitian Creole? We do not have a lot of interpreters within the school system. So how are we going to help those students to make sure they also fill out the questionnaire?
I know it's cliche, but I'm going to say it's all hands on deck, right? We understand the importance of the screener. We understand the importance of hearing our children's voice or voices. So we have interns signed up. We have community liaisons signed up. We have school adjustment counselors that have the linguistic capabilities of our students ready to go. I have an intern who couldn't make it here tonight, but she's going to be at West, and she speaks Haitian Creole and French, and she's ready to go in those classrooms. We worked it out with Principal Campbell. So we're covering it. We're covering it. I think we're in a good spot to say that all students will have the opportunity to answer these questions truthfully, honestly, accurately, and the support needed will be there for them.
Thank you. The second question is, how long once our students fill out this questionnaire and we are finding out that one of our students need help, how long is that data is going to be processed to adjustment counselors, to the principal, to the parents to know we need to speak to a child? It's totally different when you bring your child to get the yearly physical. This is some of the questions the parent asks, and they ask the child also. And right there, we can get help as we need it. And I know a lot of parents ain't gonna go for it because it's very taboo to deal with emotional and deal with the mental health in our community. And I hope a lot of parents would seek this and allow their kids to participate in this questionnaire. But my question is, how soon can we get a particular child help if we know all this question is very severe that child needs assistance?
Yeah, immediate. As soon as we get the results back, we act. There are teams set up in every building, our school social workers, we have school psychologists. We work closely with the building leadership. So as soon as we get the data back from the Respondent Education Company, they
How long is that?
send it to us 2 weeks. Hopefully, we can put a little pressure on them and say we want it a little bit sooner. They purport to be kind of quick turnaround. but we're screening, I think there's almost 12,000 students, grades 3 through 12, screening a lot of students, and then that information gets back to us, and then we act swiftly.
Perfect. I think just to piggyback on Mr. Gomes, I think is just the grade level, like 3 and 12, the development age is different, the brain is developed different for them to understand the questions. They are going to, participate, like understand it differently and answer differently. So I think we just need to watch how we like move forward, like with the questions, because a lot of kids will take it as a joke. I know my son didn't do on a physical, and it's like, this is not a joke. Like, you got to answer, as honest as possible, just, whoever's there helping the younger kids to make sure they understand exactly what the question is.
Great.
Thank you.
Great point, and I appreciate that feedback. And I do have to say that, are all kids going to be sincere and check it off the exact way they're feeling? I hope most will. I also realize that some won't, right? But if we can help those students that otherwise wouldn't have that voice to be helped, it's a home run, it's a win, right? So, and I truly, as a parent, as an educator, I think that we need to really capture our children's voices and then put in the resources to get them the help they need and work collaboratively with parents. I mean, that is
I
the
agree.
key.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sullivan. Mr. Sullivan, followed by Mr. Vega.
Thank you, John. Nice presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Sullivan.
John, is this the actual test that'll go to the students?
This is it. It's benign. Sometimes the title scares people, and that's kind of the questions I've been fielding from parents. But when I send it to them, my email has been out, my email address has been out on every piece of messaging that has gone out to our community, and I've received calls and emails, et cetera, or emails and then set up calls. And when I send it to them, some ask, I want to see it before I allow my son or daughter to take it. And I send it to them, and the feedback has been overwhelmingly positive. Thank you for caring enough about our students that you want to hear from them. So I am so pleased and excited to bring this here.
The reason I asked, John, there's no place for a name or grade on here.
So there's a cover page that I didn't include. I wanted to show you the actual survey, the screener. The first is just name, grade, school. So we capture the information that if a child, we capture all that information, and if a child needs help, we can identify them quickly.
And the one final question, where does this information go after it gets back to you?
So the buildings, the school buildings themselves, the leadership teams in each building will have the data, and then I will have it as the SEL director with our SEL team to talk about district-wide, what can we do, and then look at grade levels. What can we do in 3rd grade? What can we do in 7th grade, et cetera, like I had mentioned. But building-based leadership will have that information to meet with their IST teams to say, okay, these 11 students responded this way. The adjustment council, reach out to the parents. Let's bring the parents in for a meeting. Let's talk to the child. Let's find out how he or she is feeling. Are they sincere? Have a conversation. Are they sincere in how they filled it out, how they completed the survey? And then from there, what are we going to do collaboratively with the family to get the child the help he or she needs?
What I'm really driving is that the information going to be private?
Oh, yes. No one will see it other than building leadership, school adjustment counselors, maybe the school nurse, and then my SEL team, which is 3 folks at Central who are looking to move all of this work forward.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Sullivan. Mr. Vega.
Thank you for the presentation. Thoughtful, intentional. I think it really reflects your commitment to capturing student voices. Are many schools in the Commonwealth using screeners?
Yes. Universal screening is pretty popular and kind of embedded in SEL, in my SEL world, in the community that I kind of work in and with other leaders throughout the state. Yes, it's very much embedded in all districts.
And what are some of the outcomes that those that are regularly engaging in this are seeing?
I think kids that need help, the individualized help, get the help they need. I think there's programmatic help and support. I think certain programs, anti-bullying programs come up. If 6%, which is way too high, of 7th grade at one particular middle school feels a certain way, then what are we doing for these kids? Right. I like that it holds us accountable. Yeah. You have the information, what are you going to do with it?
Right. And just to dovetail back to the ESL piece, first off, I know that, as somebody who regularly has to figure out how to translate things online and offline, it can be challenging. In this case, is it a cost issue or is it a technical issue that's kind of limited the scope of languages that we can translate in?
No, I don't think it's a cost issue at all. I think it's truly when I work with the researchers and say, we have other languages here in Brockton. We're very diverse and we celebrate diversity. They tell us that they're working on other languages and developing other languages. They just don't have it yet. So they say they shared with us what other districts do is that they bring folks in to read the questions aloud and to better prepare the students to take it accurately and honestly so that they understand what they're being asked.
Yeah. And the only reason I bring it up is because I agree. In lieu of that, all hands on deck is the way to go. But I do think, in this conversation that Dr. Leone and I have had and other members of the committee, as a district, we really need to move into the direction of making this our focus. We are a community of many, many languages, and that needs to be reflected in important things like our SEL program and the curriculum and all the opportunities that we present, not just for our students, but for our families as well. We miss out on a lot of opportunities to hear from experts simply because we don't have the capability to translate for them. I think I agree. All hands on deck. Let's make it happen. And as we look ahead, I think we need to spend more time figuring out, as we think about our budget cycle for next year, I think translation has to be a priority. But thank you so much for the presentation and the work you're doing. 27 years.
27 years.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you for your kind words. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Do we have any follow-up questions, any other questions? Thank you, Mr. Snellgrove. Are we looking to implement this every year and taking that data to see if there's a trend changing with that specific student and how we're supporting them?
Great question, Mr. Rodriguez. So we would like to implement it twice a year. So in the fall and then in the spring to see you're precisely on target, to see if our interventions have made a difference in their lives, in their opinion, in how they're feeling. So if they accurately report here in the fall and then we give it again in the spring, we hope to see, and I know we'll see, some positive outcomes.
And as far as the support, I know the school district can't do everything. What other partners do we have that is actually partnering with your office to make sure that the services are going to be implemented after the survey?
Yeah, so we are, I always say, to interns and to folks in the interview process, we are rich in Brockton with community resources and stakeholders and folks that care. We have an abundance of counseling agencies and social service agencies, and et cetera. So we are partnering family and community resources and many, many others to say, listen, we're going to roll out the screener. We're partnering with the Boys and Girls Club. They're well aware of our screener and the grant that we just received to resurrect Brockton's promise. So we're really getting the word out there. And through our family engagement partners, Dr. Presame Calix has brought it to her family nights and talking to families. So we are getting the word out there to families, to students, to our building faculty, and to our community stakeholders that we're here, we want to listen, and then we want to better support our students.
Thank you. So I'm just my assumption, once this survey is complete and all the data is being collected, I know Dr. LeBois did make a presentation of how many more mental health professionals that we do need. Are we taking that data as well, taking that into account, saying here are the issues and these are the staff that we need in order to address these issues?
Dr. LeBillois and I work very closely together. I would love, my professional opinion, to have more adjustment counselors, more school social workers, more school psychologists. I mean, the need is there. And we work with the institutions of higher learning in Boston. We have an intern currently in our school psych program who's a Brocktonian, who speaks different languages, and she is going to flourish here in Brockton, and we hope to retain her. So yes, we are in need of more professional staff that can work with our students in all areas, but especially in what I like to say, our SEL world.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much. If any follow-up questions, Mrs. Oliver?
Do you think we need to put this in one of our, the policy manual, at the beginning of school year, how we do with the expert survey that we do? Implement that and just every year, if you're going to keep doing this, just stating this is coming up and parents can read upon it.
Yeah, I think that's a fantastic idea. I think we can do that with also still. I wouldn't shortchange or I wouldn't do one and not the other. Maybe do that, but then the added messaging to our families. And yeah, I think that would be a win-win for all.
Yeah, I definitely have both of them because Espert focus on a different questionnaires that we need to know about our kids in this community and help them also. But I think them two together will be very beneficial for the city. and our
Absolutely.
Students, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Any follow-up questions? No. Floor, Mr. Sullivan.
Just one, Mr. Snellgrove. Some of these questions, if answered correctly, could be an emergency right away. Is somebody ready to handle that when the test is taken?
Yeah, so there will be adjustment counselors available in the building. They'll be on high alert that we're doing the screening. There will be people that if a student has some kind of a big emotion or big reaction to one of the questions, then they'll be met immediately with the support they need, for sure.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any further follow-up questions? No. Thank you, Mr. Snellgrove, Superintendent. Floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Mr. Snellgrove. So now we're going to move on to our BPS grants presentation. So at this time, I'd like to invite up Cam Jackson, whose name you've heard quite a bit, most recently in relation to the $650,000 grant that we got last Friday. So I'm excited to present to you Cam Jackson, who will be reviewing our grants.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
My name is Camelia Jackson, as you all know. Thank you so much for having me here today, and it's so nice to see everybody again. Throughout this presentation, I hope to convey to you the dedicated efforts of our financial team as we work together to establish sustainable and effective procedures for managing our grants. Our ultimate goal is to ensure that Brockton Public Schools continues to secure and manage funding that creates lasting benefits for our students and our community. So the progress of the Grants Office. Over the past few months, the Grants Office has been dedicated to improving processes, ensuring compliance, and supporting the grant facilitators throughout the district. Myself and our financial analyst, Sean Daxberger, have worked diligently to create a structured approach for grant management. Our efforts include things like site visits, in which we visit each grant facilitator on site to understand their specific process and how they manage their grant, both financially and administratively. We also offer tailored support, which means that after assessing the needs of each facilitator, we design a customized training session that addresses their specific challenges. These roundtable discussions are offered to the facilitator, and if desired, their department head for broader support. To ensure effective grant management, myself, along with members of the finance team, have regular meetings and check-ins. These sessions help us stay aligned on things like the grant application status, which includes tracking the progress of submitted and pending applications. We talk about the spending compliance, which ensures that all spending aligns with the contractual requirements of each grant. And we also talk about our final reports, which demonstrate proper and financial management and adherence to other grant terms. So the Grants Office at Brockton Public Schools has partnered with key organizations to bring valuable resources and opportunities to our students and our families. These partnerships include partnerships with Brockton City Hall, Brockton Public Library, the Boys and Girls Club, Liberty Mutual Foundation, Higher Ground Boston, Project Green Schools, and other corporations and community organizations. Through these collaborations, we have secured over $1 million in grant funding thus far, benefiting not only our students, but the entire Brockton community. So, this is a glimpse of our approved grant funding this year so far. We are proud to announce that for FY25, we have secured a total of $12 million in grant funding thus far, which supports a wide range of initiatives throughout Brockton Public Schools. These grants focus on key areas such as career and technical education, family and community engagement, environmental sustainability, and special programs like the Adult Education and Family Literacy Program and the continuation of impactful initiatives such as those that come from the 21st Century Community Learning Center. One of the most notable recent achievements is the Massachusetts Clean Energy Center grant, in which the superintendent previously mentioned, which Brockton High was awarded $600,000 for the renovation of its automotive training facility. This funding will be used to create a second garage equipped with tools specific to electric vehicles, advancing our commitment to modernizing career and technical education. Recently, members of the state and local council had an event right here at Brockton High to recognize the significant contributions of the Mass CEC to all grant awardees. In addition, through our partnership with Project Green Schools, we secured up to $250,000 in grant funding to support equitable workforce training, access to clean energy internships, and the purchase of necessary equipment to prepare our students for career in this growing sector. We are also thrilled to have been awarded up to $700,000 over a 5-year span through the ROPES grant, which stands for Responsive Opportunities for Personalized Education System and Support. This transformative grant will fund ESOL courses for paraprofessionals and community members aspiring to become educators. Additionally, it will support bilingual education endorsement courses in partnerships with Bridgewater State University, and also provide funding for BSU courses for high school students at the Promise College and Career Academy. This will also offer coaching to guide participants through the academic journey. These grants represent our ongoing commitment to expand educational opportunities and resources for both our students and the broader community, paving a way for a more inclusive and innovative future. Okay. We are proud of the significant funding already secured for FY25, but our work does not stop there. We currently have $9.1 million in additional grant applications pending approval, which, if awarded, will further enhance our abilities to support key programs and initiatives throughout Brockton Public Schools. These pending funds represent our continued effort to secure even more resources for career and technical education, student mental health support, academic programs, ensuring that we can meet the growing needs of our community. Okay. Of the grant funding that was received in FY24, we have spent up to 99.77% of the funding awarded to us. Thank you. Compared to what we spent in FY23, this shows the active effort to spend down as much grant funding as we could the last fiscal year. This year, we're even more intentional about making sure that all grant funds are spent down appropriately. So the grant budget breakdown. Moving forward, our grant budget breakdowns will be attached to school committee memos that request to accept grant funding that has already been awarded. This will allow a transparent process of how funds will be distributed for each grant. And as the new school year begins, the Grants Office has made significant updates to the Grants Manual to support our facilitators, including added resources and tools to help identifying upcoming grant opportunities, sample budget templates with examples to guide facilitators, and also including a more comprehensive steps on managing grants from start to finish. In conclusion, we are working diligently as a collective all together to secure and manage all grant funding for this district, ensuring that each opportunity is maximized to benefit our students, staff, and community. Through collaborative efforts with local organizations, state entities, and private partners, we have successfully brought in significant funding that addresses a range of needs from educational advancement to workforce development. Our continued focus on transparency, accountability, and innovation has allowed us to approach these grants in a way that has been positively received throughout the district, ensuring a brighter future for Brockton Public Schools. Thank you very much. Any questions?
Thank you, Mrs. Jackson. I will start with Mr. Vega, followed by Ms. Oliver, followed by Mr. Sullivan.
I just want to acknowledge that Ms. Oliver had her hand up first.
Oh,
Okay,
thank you.
Mrs. Oliver, followed by Mr. Vega, and then Mr. Sullivan.
Thank you. This is a great presentation. Ms. Jackson, you came in right at time. when we were having that was our trouble child, the grant. And I truly appreciate all the hard work you and your team has done. This is what we've been asking for, and this is what we want to continue moving forward. I have a few questions. Is there any grant from FY23 that's still open, or from FY24 that's still open that we're trying to figure out, are they going to be used or returning them?
So there's no grants from FY23 that are open as of today. We have worked hard to close all those grants. The grants that are open for FY25 are actually multi-year grants, so we do have the ability to spend them throughout this running year. So the grants that actually had an end date, I'm sure you see on your report of 9/30, those have already been spent down, and our FR1 reports are in progress of being filled right now.
Perfect. Can we have a total? I know at one time we did get a total of how many was returned. Is there any way possible we can get the updated amount of money that was returned? Because it wasn't
Sure.
used?
I thought I included it, but I absolutely will give it to you.
Just think, I'll look through it, but I don't know if I
There he is
saw.
right there. He
Sorry.
got it on his
Also,
phone.
I love this update, just for us to basically, either quarterly, to find out how they're being used, where it's being spent, to make sure it's being allocated to where it needs to go, and then nobody has their hands in the, the cookie jar, moving it anywhere else they would like.
Right.
Okay? I do appreciate it. Thank you
Oh, no
very
problem.
much.
Thank you, Ms. Hall. Mr. Vega.
First up, thank you, Ms. Jackson.
You're welcome.
As my colleague said, it is refreshing to have like the opportunity to have your expertise here and for us to be able to ask questions. I've gotten questions about like why is money going back? And I think there's just a lack of I think folks don't deal with grants every day. So is it unheard of to return money?
No, it's actually normal business practice to return grant funding.
And what are factors that might lead to somebody returning?
Sure. So some factors that are in place are the timing in which we receive the grant. That also is a big factor. And if we have plans on hiring people through the grant in which we post job ads that aren't received or people don't apply for, that's a large factor into how we plan their grant and how we can execute the grant fully. So most of the grants that had money to be returned, the little money that they had to be returned, were because we weren't able to fulfill positions in those grants. So that's most of the issues with the grants that we have.
And you mentioned, the grant support that you all have planned out, for applications through the submission process. Is it safe to assume too that as the year progresses, that there'll be check-ins? Like if I put a grant together, I'm new to grant writing. Is there a proactive stance that you all take in terms of checking in with Jorge and finding out, how are things going? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I check in before, during, and after with grant facilitators when they're looking to research or update a grant. I work with them from the very beginning to the end, literally holding their hand through the process.
Excellent. And how do our current numbers compare to last year? I don't know if you
Yeah.
yeah, okay.
So as of right now, we're doing, as of October 1st, projecting from last year, we're doing much better in terms of obtaining grants and receiving grants and getting awarded grants. We're hoping that as the year goes on, we're able to get as many grants to level off what we had from last year, but in comparison to the progress that has been made from last year to this year, with the team that we have, we're actually making tremendous progress than what was happening before.
And not to beat a dead horse, but within these grants, are there any existing dollars that are focused towards translation services?
Yes, yes, they are. Absolutely. Grants especially the grants that we've applied for, SEL grants, absolutely. Family engagement, family partnership grants, have that in there, absolutely.
And I just want to give a shout out too, because what I like about this is you're also putting the names of the grant facilitator on here, and I have to give a shout out to my man, Dr. Muad'Din, who's secured, with your assistance, over $1.3 million for adult learning. That's just fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you for your presentation.
No problem.
Thank you, Mr. Vega. Superintendent?
And just to add on to that, the rollover or the grants that we had to return is on page 5. Okay. And I did just want to bring up that generally those amounts are typical business practice. So you'll see that the award amount was like $57,800 and we gave back $8,000. And of these just to bring up, there's only 6 grants that we had to return, and as you see, there's lists of like 50 grants that were, or 25 that we've been awarded so far, and even more that we're still getting. I do just want to bring up that there was one grant that you will see that was a more significant amount of money that was returned. And that was the $125,000. And you will not see another amount like that again. The reason for that specific one is as part of the cleanup from the previous years. So we had already been awarded an FY23 grant for that same thing, then the FY24 grant. So when cleaning up that previous year, we were able to then spend down FY23 for that grant, but not for FY24. So I just wanted to explain that was the one number that is a little bit of an anomaly, because as you'll see, the rest are like $2,375 or return. That's normal business practice, and so I just wanted to be transparent about that is part of the cleanup process we're doing, so that next year, when you get this same report, all of the numbers will be those smaller figures.
Thank you, Priya.
Thank you. Mr. Sullivan?
Thank you for your report. Nice job. I was wondering, when you receive a grant, either not by you yourself, but by in the office, does it say right up front whether it has to be returned if not used?
Yes, so usually when you apply for a grant, you know within the fiscal year you apply for it for. So usually most grants go from September 1st to June 30th, so it's one fiscal year. So unless it's mentioned that it's a multi-year grant, we're under the impression that we have to return it before the end of the fiscal year, which is June 30th.
Or to follow up, in other words, say you get a grant for $100,000 for driveways, and you use $90,000. Does that $10,000 automatically have to be returned, or can you use it for something else?
No, we have to return it. There's certain language in the grants that says that we can only use this money for this process or this way or this reason. So we can't say we have $10,000 left, let's use it for something else. No, we cannot do that. We have to stick within the stipulations of the grant.
Is that for all the grants that you get?
That is for all the grants.
So there is no swapping into different areas or
There is no
anything?
swapping.
Okay.
We do have limited opportunities to amend grants at some points, but then that has to be approved. We have to
Right.
provide the other rationale. And given the way the grants especially get in one fiscal year, by the time you apply for the grant, get the grant, and it has to be expended by June 30th, a lot of times we don't have the opportunity to be able to project how much we're going to spend and return and then be able to amend it, but there are limited opportunities amongst some grants to be able to amend them.
Just one final, how many people are in your office working on these grants?
I'm an office of one.
One? Wow.
Yes,
Congratulations.
Yeah.
thank you.
Wow.
Any
Thank you.
follow-up? Mr. Gomes, followed by Ms. Oliver.
Yeah, thank you for all the work that you've done and the rest of the team as well. That was one of my questions. You and who else is working on these?
Yeah, I work with the finance office a lot, but in
Okay.
my office, the grants office, it's only me.
It's just you. Well, good job, I guess. You guys have done well. This is really something, and it's going to be beneficial to us, to the students, the work that we need to do. I just had a quick question. Out of that $12 million that you said we've been approved for FY25, does that include any rollover from FY24?
No, those are just recently approved since I've started.
Okay. But we will probably have some
Yes, we
from
will.
this year that will roll over.
I think on your sheet, Willa had rollover grants. I included the rollover ones separately. So,
Okay, yeah, I
yes.
saw that. I just
Yes.
wanted to make sure it wasn't.
Correct,
Okay,
it's not
perfect.
included in that number, correct.
And the other question too, I just saw as well the amount we had to return.
Yep.
So that's all. That's all I have. Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you, Mr. Gomes. Ms. Oliver?
Any staffs that's being hired under this grant are being told this is only during the grant? Are we communicating this to staff members? We're not, kind of like getting them into like our budget, like after the grant is over? Like how, and I want to make sure that we are stating this fact
Right,
to
right.
the staff that we're hiring under the grant, specifically if they say we have to hire staff, that they're being told you're only employed while this grant is still active and we have money for it.
Absolutely. There's a process that they would have to do to even apply to work through a grant. So they have to get approval through HR, they have to apply for it like it's a regular job, and then on the job ad, it actually says the maximum hours and when the date that you actually stop working. So absolutely, there's plenty of checks and balances to make sure no one works over their hours from the grant.
I appreciate it because that was not being done in the past, so I truly appreciate that moving forward, this is what we're doing. Thank you.
No problem.
Mr. Vega?
I don't know if this is a question for Ms. Jackson or Dr. Tahiliani. In those rollover funds that we're discussing, and I recognize that for both of you, you joined right at about the time when this deadline was coming up for ESSER 3. Are there any highlights to what's that? Yeah, are there any highlights to what we did? You know, because that ended September 30th, right? So we just hit that deadline. What if anything were we able to do in the twilight of ESSER funding?
I can certainly find that out for
Okay,
you and give you
okay.
more detail for that, for sure.
Yeah, all right. Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you. Any follow-up questions? My turn. Can you just walk through the process? I know we've had a lot of conversations. For example, I'm the athletic director. I need some, where does it start as far as, searching for the grants? What's the process? Is there a team, or is it you're the one you're by yourself, but is it, what's the team look like when they're trying to secure grants, and what do they do to look for these grants?
Sure. So usually my process is I send out opportunities for grants for all those that may qualify for grants probably once a week. So I'll send out a list of opportunities to assistant superintendents, the superintendent, and have them send them out to the people in the departments to see if it's appropriate for them to apply for. Along with that, I'll send out different opportunities or different links so they can search for their own grant opportunities. So I'll enlist, you can go on grants.gov to see if there's something that suits you. From that process, they'll say, Cam, I found something. Let's work together to go through this. So I would have a Teams meeting or go on site with them and talk about their projects and how they would want to propose this grant, how you want to write this grant. They would give me ideas, and then I will take it back and write the narrative. We work together to see if that narrative fits what their idea actually has, encompasses. And then I would actually go in the system and put in all the information in the system. At that point, we go through our chain of commands, and once it's done, we take it to our CFO. She double checks it on her end, and then it goes directly to our superintendent. She does her triple end check, and then it goes off to be submitted. So we do have a process, but for the most part, they know I'm trying to teach them to check in with me, and there's a process. There's different search engines that we can work together to go through. So there's people in the district that have said, I don't know where to start. I don't know how to look for grants. How do I do this? And then I kind of have a session with them. This is how we do this. Let's go through this together. Usually around this time of year, this is coming out. So maybe we can put on our calendar to look out for this. So it's a really hands-on approach with everybody that has interest in grants. So I'm very, very busy all day talking to people and trying to understand what is it that they want for their program and what is it that they want for their students. And then for me, I kind of take that in consideration and do my homework on the back end and see what I can shoot out for them for the week.
Thank you. And once these grants are awarded, they're entered into Munis, correct?
Yes, once the grants are awarded, they are entered into Munis. They go through a different process now because we do have to send our applications and our things to City Hall now. That wasn't a process that was done before. So it does take a little bit longer because we have to go through a different process. But they do get entered in Munis. Everybody does their checks and balances. From that point on, once it's entered in Munis, I reach out to the grant facilitator and give them their Munis codes, so they know what to use for what. So if they allocated a budget for, I wanted $10,000 for supplies and $5,000 for equipment, I give them literally the line item that they need to use. You don't have access to any other line item, you just have line items to this. And then as they go, I give them a budget template, and they literally fill it out, everything that they spend. We work through it together. It's a live sheet, so myself and Sean are able to view it as they input in things, and we can see maybe if they're having trouble, maybe they haven't inputted thing in this spreadsheet, let's go talk to them. Maybe there's something wrong. Maybe they haven't been spending. That kind of cues us to see, have they been spending money? Has something been going on? So we've been trying to and put different structures in place so we can see that all our facilitators understand the planning and the process of their grants.
So basically, you're the only one that's red flagging, hey, listen, you have to spend this down by this
Correct.
date.
Sean and I, yes, our financial analyst and I, between him and I on the finance end and me on the front end, we make sure that we talk to each other. And if something looks kind of not right on his end, he'll say, Cam, this doesn't look right. Let's research this together. And then we'll touch base with the facilitator together.
Cool. Thank you very much. Answer my questions. Any follow-up questions by any of the members?
Just-
Mr. Sullivan?
On the automotive grant that was just received, the $650,000, where is that work going to be done? At this high school?
Yes, yes, it will be. It'll be done right here in the Fine Arts. The event that they had last week, actually, they did a tour downstairs in the Fine Arts to see where they will be putting this equipment and how they will be expanding the equipment that we already have. So yes,
And that is for electric cars only? It has nothing to do with gasoline?
correct. It's modernized. It's a modernized grant, so they'll be working on electric vehicles.
Do you have an electric vehicle here?
I think they'll be getting one through the grant. So everything they'll be working together with different entities to get all the equipment here. That's included in the grant.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sullivan. Any follow-up questions? No? Seeing none, thank you, Mrs. Jackson.
You're
And
welcome.
I know you're doing a wonderful job there, and looking forward to your updates on where we are with our grants.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We will move to item B. Do we have any items to refer to the subcommittees? Mrs. Oliver.
Just an update, me and Dr. T has been having multiple conversations the past month since she got on. Definitely regarding the DREI. Basically, if you want to give some updates before for me to schedule a subcommittee meeting, I definitely want an update. And just for, the community out there, I know there's been a lot of frustration, anger regarding this particular committee and the department itself, just to know that it's not something that any of us in this body want to get rid of. This is something that I truly was very happy to be part and be made chair of. I have a big shoe to fit from the last Ms. Mendez, who basically did an incredible job putting this subcommittee and bring it up. I think we have a lot of work to do. I think this is a community that's very diverse, and we have to have this within walls. So I definitely just want an update. So in possibly in a few weeks or so, I can schedule a subcommittee meeting.
Yes, absolutely. So we have had to re-envision the department, as you all know, to go from 4 people to a 1-person department, which is not unusual for other districts. So what we are doing at this point is re-envisioning, though, that particular job and that job description, because since it is going to be a department of 1, we do have different needs that we need to meet for the district. So our existing job descriptions didn't exactly meet what our new needs are. So as we are thinking about the department moving forward, we are re-envisioning that. So that has resulted in a revision of the job description itself. We're actually working with the union on that. So we have sent them the job descriptions for that and some other positions that we're actually re-envisioning moving forward. So my hope is that we will be able to work with the union to finalize that and a few other positions very soon, so that we can get those posted and hired. So to answer your question about a subcommittee, because we do need to have a subcommittee meeting on that, I would hope that we would be able to have a subcommittee meeting, the second meeting in November, hopefully with somebody. I know that's ambitious, but to have somebody hired and brought in by then.
Thank you. Just keep us updated, and we'll definitely schedule that.
Will do. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other members, items to refer to subcommittee? Sarah's not, I want to schedule a policy. We are working on several policies that needed to be updated. I can't, oh, you think we'll be ready with those policies by the 15th? Okay, so I could schedule October 15th, 6 PM policy subcommittee meeting. There's several policies that we have to act on immediately, so we can schedule that, so. We will move on to item number 6, consent agenda. What is the will of the committee with the consent agenda?
One question. October, what's the date in October for the policy?
October 15th, which will be our next regular school committee meeting.
Okay.
Will of the committee on the consent, Mrs. Sullivan?
Request to remove item D.
We'll remove item D. Any other members?
Motion to accept items A, B, C, and E.
Motion was made,
Second.
seconded by Mrs. Oliver. I will read our consent agenda. A is approval of July 16, 2024 special school committee meeting minutes. B is approval of July 9th, 2024 regular school committee meeting minutes. C is the approval of the Matthew L. Flaherty Memorial Scholarship. E, acceptance of human resources notifications, appointments certified, appointments non-certified, personal actions, leave of absence, resignations, and retirements. Show of hands. It is approved unanimously, and item D was taken out. Mrs. Sullivan, the floor is yours.
Okay, just talking about grants. This is a grant to be submitted for the Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, Fund Code 181, the English Learner Support Grant. If this fund is accepted, it would be for $155,170. And it's a fund that grants, it enables the district to offer TESOL certificate courses through Bridgewater State University that would provide for instructional coaching for participants in the certificate program and provide MTEL vouchers to cover the cost of ESL, MTEL. Specifically, this grant would fund the following: 7 Bridgewater State University graduate courses on teaching English as a second language, instructional coaching through transformative learning collaborative for participants, 2 Bridgewater State University ESL, MTEL preparation courses, 30 vouchers for ESL, MTEL, and textbooks for each Bridgewater State University course and MTEL preparation course.
Thank you.
This just shows the process that Ms. Jackson was just talking about with the grants. So motion to approve item D, Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education Fund Code 181, English Learner Support Grant.
Second.
Motion was made by Mrs. Sullivan, seconded by Mrs. Oliver. I will read item D as request authorization to submit proposal and expenditure of funds, the National Youth Leadership Council of $155,170.
Oh, no, it's the Mass
No, it's
DESI
the Mass DES.
underneath.
Oh,
Updated.
oh, I'm sorry. Sorry about that one. Oh, the Mass DESI Code 181, English Learner Support Grant, $155,170. Show of hands. Unanimous. Carries. And we will, item number 5 is unfinished business discussion of potential voter subcommittee assignments. We did discuss this at our last meeting, and our subcommittee assignments is on the back page of our agenda book. For discussion, if any members have any concerns. Mrs. Sullivan, the floor is yours.
Yes, Mr. Rodriguez and I discussed this earlier. I was looking over the list of subcommittee assignments, and we were talking about bid review and accounts review, and I think that should be reversed, and Mr. Rodriguez agreed that accounts review should be everybody looking at accounts because of what happened. So everybody should be looking at those. So we wanted to make that a committee of the whole. And bid review, we don't really need a committee of the whole because the bid is opened by the procurement officer and then it's brought to us, and we always have to take the lowest bid anyway, unless it offers a service that we need then. But I've been on 11 years and we always take the lowest bid. So We talked about that. So, community schools also, we have to, it's in their bylaws, we have to nominate the two members for community schools, and then the committee has to vote. So I spoke to Dr. DeBarros on this, and that's the proper way, and we need to fix everything, so we need to fix that. We did used to do it, but then it kind of went away from that, and so we want to go back to fixing everything the right way. So I don't know, Mr. Rodriguez, what order you want to take?
I would say we would, we'll need three motions. We'll need a motion to keep accounts review as a committee of a whole, take that action, and then we will take bid review as a motion as well to turn that to members of the four-member committee. And then we will keep the members on accounts review, which will, Mr. Sullivan, Mr. Gomes, Ms. Azak, and Mr. Vega will just basically revert to the bid review subcommittee. So I will entertain a motion to, on accounts review.
Motion to make accounts review a committee of the whole?
Second.
Motion was made by Mrs. Sullivan, seconded by Mr. Gomes. Show of hands. Vote is unanimous.
Motion to
Passes.
make the bid review a subcommittee of the whole,
Four.
with the four members from accounts review, which is Timothy Sullivan, Claudio Gomes, Joyce Azak, and Jorge Vega.
Second.
Motion was made by Mrs. Sullivan, seconded by Mr. Gomes to accounts review members, Mr. Sullivan, Mr. Gomes, Ms. Azak, and Mr. Vega as the bid review subcommittee. Show of hands. Unanimous. That passes.
And then, on the on the transportation, it's just going to be the highlighted line. So there's two lines there, but the members are going to be the highlighted line, just to point that out, but we don't need a motion.
Yeah, we
on
don't need to vote for that. That carries. And
The community schools.
community schools.
Okay, so I make a motion to nominate Anna Oliver for the community schools. And then you just have to ask if there's any other nominations.
Is there any other nominations? We need two members nominated. As of right now, it's myself and Mrs. Oliver.
Yeah, but we have to nominate them.
So somebody has to
And
make a
vote
motion
on
to
it.
vote on it. Yes.
I'd like to make a motion to vote on Ms. Oliver and Mr. Rodriguez for community schools.
Second.
Motion was properly made by Mrs. Sullivan, seconded also on the motion with Mr. Vega to add Ms. Oliver and Tony Rodriguez to the school committee, to the community schools subcommittee. Vote by hands. Unanimous, that carries. Now we'll need one more motion to approve all of the subcommittee assignments that's listed in all the changes that we've made this evening.
Motion to approve all the subcommittee, school committee, subcommittee assignments for the
Second.
year 2024 and 25.
With
Motion
the
was made by
amendments.
Mrs. Oliver, properly seconded by Mr. Sullivan. Mr.
With the
Gomes, do you
amendments
have?
that we just made, right? With the changes we've made.
Yes, with the changes. Show of hands. Unanimous, that carries. Thank you, members. So we can all take a deep breath and set our subcommittee meetings now for the remainder of the year. And next item is new business. Do we have any new business? Seeing none. Mr. Sullivan?
I have one, I don't know if it's new business or old business, but it was referring to the superintendent. She was made permanent last meeting. I'm not sure if she has to move to Brockton within a year, or how is that going to work? She has to
we-
get a waiver from the,
We're working on that, so legal counsel, so once we get to that, we'll all be behind closed doors discussing that.
oh, that's behind closed doors?
Yes,
Okay?
thank you. Yeah, it has to be brought to the full committee, so we'll be discussing that with negotiations. So it's a whole committee of the negotiations with the superintendent's contract.
Okay.
Thank you. Next item is the school safety and security update from our police liaison. I believe, yes, Mr. Lieutenant Banaka will be giving us an update.
Greetings, Superintendent Tiliani, Mr. Vice Chairman Rodriguez, and school committee members and those in attendance. So to recap and also to give an update, as everyone knows, that the school police made an arrest after an exhaustive and in-depth investigation of the assault of the West Middle School student. And the school police, which probably has never been done before, obtained and we executed a search warrant of the suspect's residence after identifying the suspect. And subsequently, we learned that he was in Easton, and we apprehended him in Easton. So for an update on that case, there was a hearing, it was a dangerousness hearing, and he was deemed dangerous and he's held without bail. So it's usually 120 days. There will be a hearing at some point, but he's held for 120 days. It's obviously important to school safety. Students need to feel safe in school, but it's also important for students to feel safe to and from school. It is a challenge when you leave school property and then you have 20 square miles of the city of Brockton and kids get spread out. So that is a challenge. But it should be aware that an arrest was made and a prosecution to the fullest extent will be made also. So next on the agenda, Friday, 9/27th, there was the Brockton High School football game, and that was a success. School police and safety and security with additional resources by the superintendent for the safety and security personnel. They were present, and as I said, it was an unqualified success. There was an issue where there was a crowd gathering under the bleachers, but the school police and the safety and security team, they intercepted and dispersed the crowd. Most went to their seats without an issue. We did have one individual that refused to go back to their seats and then was ordered to be removed and refused to be removed. Therefore, he was placed in custody. He was a Brockton High School student. Principal McCaskill was informed, and student discipline is Principal McCaskill's wheelhouse, and that will be with related to after-school events. The student, whatever discipline that he will be forced to endure, will be Principal McCaskill's rulings. And on another note, the Plouffe Middle School and the Champion High School, we had to have a stay-in-place order yesterday. There were shots fired across the street, and that was the Stillman Ave area. And when that occurred, we requested that stay in place for both schools, and it was conducted. Apparently, an individual had run across the street over to the school area. So what we did is we had a search team search. There's a wooded area near the school, actually on school property. We searched that, and we also we made available other assets. We had 2 canines that were specialized in ballistics. They were also requisitioned, and they did a search of the property into the wooded areas near the school, and it was deemed to be safe. And the search in place, the stay in place, was rescinded. And also to mention that there was no issue in terms of dismissal, as it didn't affect dismissal whatsoever. Just that occurred midday. On another note, this morning they had a meeting with the community-based juvenile justice, and what that entails is that group discusses cases, and also the principal was there with regards to at-risk or troubled youth. And really the goal with that is to intercept kids so they can avoid being part of the criminal justice system that I'm involved in. It's about prevention, and it's about, and whether that involves counseling or referral to programs. Again, it's about prevention, and it's about interception, so they can avoid seeing the police on a regular basis. And lastly, we had another active shooter training. We conducted it at the Brockton High School over the weekend, and that's our second one. We plan on doing some others, and that's probably twice as much as most municipalities engage in terms of training for active shooter. The school police are the first line of defense to the exterior of the schools, so it's obviously important that we maintain our skills in terms of active shooter training. And also want to make mention that if there are individuals loitering outside the school area while school's in session, it's obviously important for them to have their high school ID if they're approached, and if they're not connected with the school system, then be prepared that school police may engage that individual and find out what their business is. And that's the goal of what we do with the school police. We're the first line of defense to the exterior of the school buildings. So with that, if there are any questions.
Thank you, Lieutenant. Any questions by any of the members? Mrs. Oliver?
Thank you for the great work that the school police did, and also the Brockton Police to bring that person to justice. And I do hope that that student is getting counsel, and that we are helping her out. I do appreciate everything that's been happening this week and how on top of it you and your team have been, and especially keep our students safe. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other members? Lieutenant, as I said earlier, we outlined the communications. Thank you for your hard work. Brockton Police and all the law enforcement agencies that were involved in apprehending that individual. And it sends a strong message how quickly Brockton PD works to make sure we bring those that cause harm to our students in our community. So I thank you very much for that as well.
Thank you. I'll pass that along.
And we will go to item number 8 is announcements. Do we have anyone with announcements? Mrs. Oliver.
Quick thing. This is regarding Discovery Justice. I got an email today from Ms. Laura Banner. She is the Chief Program Officer. We are, for those that doesn't know Discovery Justice, please look it up. It's a great program that we have in our schools, especially here in Brockton. We have 5 schools at this moment participating with Discovery Justice. We are in need of 3 professional attorneys to volunteer at Ashfield Middle School and North Middle School. If any lawyer out there in this community that can volunteer in one of those 2 schools, we don't want to leave the schools out, because if you don't get mentors, they won't be able to participate in the mock trial and also the appeal. So anybody who's interested, please reach out to me or any one of us, and we can get the information out, how to fill out the paperwork. It's a great program. I was honored to attend the gala this year. The work that the 2 judges has been working with our kids to get them involved in the criminal system, and especially in the law, is incredible. Not our students not to always fear the justice system. It's always also can work for us. So if anybody's interested who is a lawyer or know lawyers that is willing to be part of the mentors, please sign up. Another thing that I wanted to basically thank Mr. Rodriguez and the partnership for bringing the carnival this past weekend. I think all the videos that my friends were sending me with the kids, the smile, and just to be able to have a fun fall activity for our kids in the city is what we've been waiting for a very long time. I think those who remember the fair, it was a great time to go with your family. I think we need more activity like this to bring the community together. Not separate us, but bring us together. The line was insane because I saw videos, and I greatly think that the Brockton and the city councilors and the mayor needs to start working on achievement, engagement to bring more programs and more activities for our kids in Brockton to keep them busy. So we don't have to drive hours to like craft store or like a fall program. But I think this is thank you. It was a great, great weekend that we had here. And also the movie premiere that was on Sunday, that was incredible. We had almost 300 or 400 people here.
700.
Yeah. So we have a gem here in auditorium, and I think that more people should participate in renting it and show, their artwork and also their dance recitals, anything they want to rent the auditorium. But it was incredible weekend for the school department this week.
Thank you. Any other further announcements? Thank you. Thank you for bringing up Discovering Justice. I believe it was just me and you on the email, but I'll forward that to all the members. I've been supporting it since I've gotten on the committee. I've attended several of their galas, and the biggest thing about it is that Brockton is always mentioned, and we've been showcased on NBC News, and trying to grow that to the high school as well as the program grows. And I'll also like to share that with some of our city councilors as well, so they can be informed. You know, we do have, I believe, 4 attorneys on the city council, so their support for Brockton Public Schools, since they have a keen eye and they can, you know, step up and volunteer their time as public servants to service our students as well. Again, unbelievable premiere, the movie Soldati, that was here in the auditorium, 700 spectators that came in to watch the movie. It was an unbelievable event just to see producers from another country come in and showcase their movie here at the high school, and some people that's never been to Brockton High to see how big the venue is, from Connecticut, Rhode Island, you name it, even New York, to come into Brockton to come and watch a unbelievable movie. And I actually was sitting with Council President Rodriguez, and I said, hey, we should show this to the students, but I think we're going to have some waivers for that one moving forward. Also, I mentioned about the carnival. It was an unbelievable event. We did it over the summer. Once they close out their books and the city sends them their invoices, representatives from the Brockton Bucks will come and make a presentation. The funds that go directly to the organizations come in 100% to the school district, which will support our students. So that's a great partnership with those 2 organizations, Fiesta Shows and the Brockton Buccaneers. So any further announcements? Seeing none, we will move on to item number 9, which is executive session. Mass General Law, Chapter 38, Section 21A2, to conduct strategy sessions in preparation for negotiations with non-union personnel, or to conduct collective bargaining sessions or contract negotiations with non-union personnel, food service grievance. And the second item is Mass General Law, Chapter 38, 21A4, to discuss the deployment of security personnel or devices or strategy with respect their review of the safety audit. Do I have a motion to enter into executive session?
Motion to enter into executive session.
Second.
Motion was made by Mrs. Oliver, seconded by Mr. Gomes, and this will be a roll call vote. Mrs. Sullivan?
Yes.
Mr. Gomes?
Yes.
Mr. Vega?
Yes.
Mrs. Oliver?
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan?
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez, myself is a yes, and we will not be returning back to open session. Meeting adjourned. Thank you.